Hi everyone! In this video, I'm gonna show you how to make a Twitter bot with Python. First of all, let me just show you what the final result is gonna look like. So right now, I'm in my personal Twitter account at Dojo, but the Twitter account we're gonna be controlling with Python is gonna be this account at Dojo instead. And here's the way this account is gonna work, or this bot is gonna work. When you tweet at this account at Dojo, from either my account or your account with the hashtag hello world, it's gonna respond back with the same hashtag within 15 seconds or so. So let's just wait for a bit. And I think I got a new tweet here. Let's check if that's the correct one. Let me just refresh the page here. And it's the correct one. I get hello world back to you from this account, Edit Dojo. So I'm going to show you how I made this, but just by changing the implementation a little bit, you'll be able to do different things. Like for example, you might say, if someone mentions me with a certain keyword, I'm going to send them a direct message. Or if someone I follow mentions a certain topic, then I'm going to reply to that message. Anyway, let's get started. Okay, actually the first thing you'll need to do to follow this tutorial is you need to apply for a developer account for Twitter. To do that, you can just go to your browser and then search for Twitter developer. And by the way, make sure to sign in to your Twitter account first, and then of course create a Twitter account if you don't have it yet. And if you go to developer.twitter.com, you see this button at the top that says apply. So click that. And then just follow everything that says here. So choose which Twitter account you want to use here. I'm going to use another Twitter account I have here at csdojo44. So click continue. And then follow everything else here. And then once you go through everything, you should see terms of service. So read through it. And then check these boxes, or this first box at least, and click submit application. And then once you confirm your email address, you're done. So actually initially I thought there was going to be a waiting period, but it looks like I got the access already. You might need to actually confirm your phone number too, or wait for a few weeks. But if you get the access right away, that's great. Either way, let's just get started with the rest of the process. Okay, the next step is going to be to create what's called an app within Twitter's developer website. I'm going to switch to Firefox here, just because I want to switch my Twitter accounts. On Firefox, I'm logged into at Edit Dojo. Like I said before, we're going to be controlling this account. So then I'm just going to search for Twitter developer on Google and find this website again. And on the top right corner, you should see your name. And then when you hover over it, you should see this one, apps. So click that. And here you'll be able to create a new app. I already have one app here, Edit Dojo, but I'm just going to create a new app just for demonstration. I think I'm just going to call it Edit Dojo 2. And then I'll need to provide description, website URL, and so on. So let me just do that. Okay, I just finished filling in everything here. And by the way, the reason why this app is called Edit Dojo is, as some of you know, it's just because I'm working on this project called Edit Dojo. Anyway, once you finish that, click create, and then read everything, click create, and then your app should be created. And once your app is created, the next step is to check the permissions and make sure you have read and write permission, because we're going to be reading and writing tweets. And then go to keys and tokens and make sure you have all your keys generated. So you should have consumer API keys, API key, API secret keys, and then access token and access token secrets. Basically these 4 strings. You won't be able to use the same keys because I'm going to destroy these keys later, but you should have your own keys here. Okay, after that, the next step is to make sure you have Python 3 on your computer, because that's what we're going to use. So open your terminal or shell app, and then try typing in Python 3 dash dash version. You might want to try Python dash dash version 2. But let me try Python 3 version here. You should see something like this. If you see Python 3 point something, then that's good. That means you have Python 3 installed on your computer. Now, if you don't have Python 3 on your system, there are a few options here. The first one is to obviously, download and then install Python 3 on your system. But if you don't want to bother going through the process, or if you have trouble doing that, you can just use this website called Python Anywhere, which you can find at csdojo.io/py. So this is a website where you can create Python scripts and run them without installing Python at all. So you can create a file right here in the file section. Just click open another file, and then just typing in home/username, in my case ykdojo, / let's say mybot.py, and then click new file. You can also run a terminal here or bash just by clicking this button right here. And I think this website is pretty nice because you'll be able to use the free version of their website to follow pretty much everything in this tutorial. Anyway, whether you use something like Python Anywhere or your local environment, the rest of the steps are going to be pretty much exactly the same. So let's go back to our terminal. And the next step after this is actually going to be a little bit tricky. So we're going to be using this library called TweetPy, Twitter for Python. But the thing is, it only works with Python, as you can see, 2.7, 3.4, 3.5, and 3.6. So Python 3.7 doesn't work with this library. So there are a few options for getting around that issue. The first option is to use a previous version of Python, for example 3.6. But it turns out, depending on your environment, using a previous version of Python for this particular library is not the easiest option. So what I would personally recommend is, if you have Python 3.7, keep using Python 3.7, but use this particular command that I'm going to show you. To find this command, I just searched for tweetpy Python 3.7, and then I found this issue on GitHub. And then what you're going to have to do is you need to install a particular version of this GitHub repo. And to do that, you can use this command. So I'm just going to copy and paste it on my terminal, but you'll be able to find it at either on this issue or at csdojo.io/Twitter. Anyway, copy and paste that command on terminal or in console. And then I'm actually going to replace pip with pip3. It really depends on your environment which command you should use. So I would try pip3 first, and then if it doesn't work, I would try pip install and so on. So let me just try this here. And this is going to install, like I said, a particular version of TweetPy that should work with Python 3.7. Okay, so once you see this, successfully installed TweetPy 3.6.0, that's good. Go to your, let's say, desktop, and then create a new directory for this particular project. I'm just going to call it mybot, and then go into that folder. And after that, we're going to finally start creating our bot here. To do that, go to your text editor. I'm going to use Atom here, or Atom. I'm actually not sure how to pronounce it. Anyway, go into that folder that you just created, and then create a new file. Let's call it mytwitterbot.py. Let's just write print this is my Twitter bot. Just to get started, go back to terminal, and then in the same folder, type in Python 3 or Python mytwitterbot.py. And this should print this. This is my Twitter bot. Okay, the next step is to import TweetPy. After installing TweetPy, with the command I showed you earlier, you should be able to do that with just this. Import TweetPy. Save this file, go back to terminal, and then run the same command. And if you get no errors, then that's good. The import was successful. After that, go back to mytwitterbot.py in your editor, and then either type in or copy and paste these commands. I'm going to put my source code in csdojo.io/Twitter so that you can just copy and paste these commands. And we have, as you can see, these four variables here: consumer key, consumer secret, access key, and access secret. These are the keys that we saw earlier. So copy and paste your particular keys into those. I have the consumer API key here, and the API secret key here, and so on. And access secret should be right here. And once you have this, you should have these three commands after that. We're setting up this auth object using consumer key and consumer secret. And then we set access token on the auth object with access key and access secret. Don't worry too much about what it's doing right now. But the important part is after that, we're setting up this object called API. And we're going to be using this API object to basically talk to Twitter, to read data from Twitter and write data into Twitter. So save this file and go back to terminal and run this command again. And if you get no error, then that's good again. And after that, we want to be able to process all the @mention tweets directed for @editdojo. So let me go into my personal Twitter account @ykdojo, and then create a bunch of new @mentions for editdojo. So let me just write @editdojo. Let's say tweet 1. So this is going to be the first @mention, and then I'll say @editdojo tweet 2 hashtag hello world, and so on. Let me create 5 of these. Okay, so as you can see here, I ended up creating 6 of those tweets. Tweet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 2 of these have the hashtag hello world, tweet 2 and tweet 6. So we want to make our bot so that it responds to only those tweets with the hashtag hello world. Anyway, let's go back to our terminal, and I'm going to start up a new Python shell here just by typing Python 3 just to test out some stuff. In this Python shell, copy the commands we've written so far, all the commands we've written so far, and then paste it here. So this way, we've just created the API object in this Python shell environment. If you type in API, you should see something like this. Now let me go to TweetPy's documentation for a second. You can find this page just by searching for TweetPy documentation on Google. And here you see this command, api.mentions timeline. This is going to return all the recent mentions for this account. So that's what we're going to use. There are different kinds of commands here. And for example, you have home timeline if you want to get all the tweets from people you follow. But here we're going to use mentions timeline. So go back to terminal and then try typing in api.mentions timeline parentheses, and then you should get some kind of results like this. Let's store this in a new variable called mentions. So here, if you just print out the results just by typing in mentions, I think it's really hard to know what's going on because there's a lot of stuff here. So what I would do here is I would just say type mentions to find the type of this result. You'll see that this is this class, tweetpy.models.resultSet. So what I actually did is I searched for this on Google, and then I searched for like how to extract information from this set basically. And then here I found this command or this comment that says tweetpy.resultSet is a subclass of Python's list. So I said, okay, it's like a list. So maybe what I can do is I can do mentions square bracket 0 to find the first tweet. And that's actually the case. But if you look at this, this is still a lot of stuff. So I did the same thing. Okay, what's the class of this, or what's the type of this one? So I did that, type parentheses mentions square bracket 0. And then it turns out it's this one, tweetpy.models.status. So I actually went back to Google and did the same thing, searched for it, just like that. And actually, when I searched for it, I didn't, find that much useful information. But I found that, I know that this is a class. And since this is a class, or this is an object of this class, and since this is an object, we can use this trick to convert this object into a dictionary. So type in, this dot underscore underscore dict underscore underscore. This converts this object into a dictionary, and then you see that it has a bunch of attributes like API, JSON, ID, SDR, text, and so on. It's still kind of hard to see, so what I would do here is I would extract all the keys by typing in dot keys after the command that we used earlier, and then you should see this. These are basically the attributes of this particular class, and it's much easier. It's much easier to see. You see attributes like created at, ID. This is probably the ID of the tweet, and the text of the tweet, and so on. So using this information, we'll be able to, if you want to extract, for example, the text, you'll be able to just do mentions square bracket 0, which is an object, dot text. And this is the last tweet that we sent out. And then if you want to extract the ID, which we're going to use later, you can just replace text with ID, and then you get this. And this is actually an integer, I think, by the way. Yes, it is an integer. So I think I went through a lot of stuff pretty quickly. I really recommend, that you try running these same commands yourself and, see how it goes. And try to understand how everything fits together here. Anyway, once you go through that, press the up arrow key to find the command we used earlier to find all the mentions. It was this one. Now that we know that this is the right command, let's copy this command in our file, mytwitterbot.py, and then let's use this mentions to print out all the mentions that we get from this command. Since this is just like a list, we can iterate through it just like a list. So we can do for mention in mentions, and then let's just print the text of this mention by typing in print mention.text. And actually, the ID is going to be useful later too. So let's also type that in here with mention.id plus mention.text. And since ID is an integer and mention.text is a string, we can't do this. We'll need to convert this ID into a string with the str function. And let's also add, some spaces and maybe a hyphen here, just to make it easier to see. And this should print out all the mentions that we get from this command. So let's save this file and let's see if that works. Go back to terminal, and then let's keep our Python shell here, and then just open a different tab or window and type in python3 mytwitterbot.py, and let's see if it works. Okay, it looks like it worked. We see a bunch of tweets here, and the first 6 of these are the tweets that we created earlier. Okay, the next thing we want to do is for each of these tweets, we want to check if each of these tweets includes the hashtag hello world or not. So go back to the Python terminal, and then make sure that you still have this variable mentions, and let's just retrieve one of them, mentions 0. Let's just call this one t0, and then to get text, we were able to do just t0.text. We want to see if this includes a hashtag hello world. The way I would go about it is I would first convert everything, this string, into lowercase, because we want I think it's actually lower parentheses this text. No, actually, sorry, it should be t0.text dot lower parentheses. Okay, so that works. And the reason I want to convert it to a lowercase is because this hashtag hello world could be in any case, right? It could be all caps, or it could be that, H and W are capitalized and so on, or, it could be all lowercase. But if we lowercase everything, we'll be able to handle all of those cases. And then we want to say, does this lowercase version of the text include the hashtag hello world? We can do that with this command, quotes hello world, close the quotes, and then in this. And this returns true if this hashtag is in there. But if it's not in there, for example, hello world 2 is not in there, it's going to return false. So that's what we're going to use in our main file. Let's just copy this thing into our file here, my Twitter bot.py. And then for mention in mentions, let's just do if the hashtag hello world is in the tweet, instead of T0, use mention. Then print, let's just say found hello world responding back, ... Let's see if this works so far by going back to the terminal and go back to the regular terminal or bash, and then run this command again, python 3 my Twitter bot.py, and let's see if that worked. Actually, let's see just the top part. We see tweet 6 found hello world responding back, and then we see a bunch of tweets, and then tweet 2 hello world found hello world responding back. So that's good, it's working so far. Okay, so far I wanted to sort of show you the process by which I go about developing a script like this. Since this video is getting a little bit long, let me just develop some more script, and then once I'm done, let me show you what's going on. Okay, I wrote some more code here, and for me to explain some of it, I'll need to explain the idea of this code first. So let's say you have these 6 mentions like we saw earlier. Tweet 1 2 3 4 5 6, and with 2 tweets with this hashtag hello world. And let's say the current time is here. So these 3 tweets have been sent, and these 3 tweets haven't. And when we run our script, we're going to take a look at these 3 tweets, right? And then after these 3 tweets have been sent, let's say in 15 seconds or in a minute, whatever interval that you decide, then we'll need to run our script again. In that case, we don't want to take a look at these 3 tweets again, because we've already done that. We don't want to respond to the same people over and over again. So we'll need to make sure to store the ID of the last tweet that we've seen. So that's why I created a new file in the same folder called lastSeenID.txt. So I decided to just store that ID in this file and then retrieve it every time we run our script. It could be in a database or something, but a text file is the simplest solution for this kind of stuff. So I wrote these 2 functions for that, retrieve lastSeenID and store lastSeenID. Retrieve lastSeenID takes the file name, this file name, and then returns the lastSeenID. So if it takes this file name, it's just going to return this number as an integer. And then store lastSeenID is the opposite of that. It takes the new lastSeenID and the file name, and then it's just going to write that new ID into this text file, lastSeenID.txt. Okay, and if you want to play around with these functions and with the rest of the code, like I said earlier, you can just go to csdojo.io/Twitter. Anyway, let me just demonstrate to you how this whole thing works. Actually, another major thing I changed is that when I go through these mentions, I'm reversing this list. That's for a technical reason too, but another reason is that it's a more natural way of thinking about it. Instead of going through tweet 6, tweet 5, tweet 4, we're going through all tweets first and then responding to them first. So it's going to be tweet 1 first, 2, 3, and so on. Okay, and we're using another argument in this mentions timeline function. the first argument of this function actually, and that's last seen ID. This way, if the last seen ID is, let's say, the ID of this tweet, let's say 91, then that API is going to ignore this tweet and then give us, these 5 tweets instead. And actually, I stored the ID of the first tweet in the comment right here. So let me just copy and paste this ID in this, last seen ID.text. That's actually what I already had, but just to make sure we have the right ID. And that way, we should be able to see, those 5 tweets. Let's see if that works. And it does. So we see tweet 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And as you can see, we're going to the oldest tweet first, and then newest tweet last. And once this is done, this ID of tweet 6 should be in last seen ID.text, and that's what we see here. And since that's updated, if we run Python 3 mytwitterbot.py again, we should see no tweets because there have been no mentions, since the last tweet 6. Okay, so far all I've been doing is I've been just printing out these tweets and these comments, and we haven't been doing anything with those tweets. So let me show you how to actually reply to those tweets. To do that, let me just copy the ID of the first tweet that we've seen, and then go to our terminal and go to the Python shell again. And then to respond to that particular tweet, you need to use this command, api.update status, and then at the username. That's actually YK Dojo. Let me just do that. And then let's say hello world back to you, and this is testing, or this is just a test, comma, and then that ID. So this should work. Let's go back to Twitter and let's see if we got it. If we look at tweet 1, we see this new tweet, hello back to you, and this is just a test. And that's the string that we wrote just earlier. And to integrate that in our main code, I'm gonna write this. So after we make sure that hello world is in the mention, I'm gonna write api.update status. Actually, let me just copy and paste the command that we wrote earlier. It was this one. So copy and then go back to the editor, paste it, and instead of saying at ykdojo manually, I'm gonna write just at, and then let's say plus, and we can actually use this command, mention user dot screen underscore name plus, and then let's use the hashtag here, hello world back to you. And then instead of using this ID manually, I'm gonna write tweet, or actually mention dot ID. So here, let me copy the ID of the first tweet to last seen ID.text, and then save the file. And once we run this whole thing should work, hopefully. So let's go back to terminal and then run this again. Okay, so it looks like we responded to tweet 6 without getting any errors. Let's check the result on Twitter again. Let me refresh this page, and I get hello world back to you. That's actually perfect. Okay, and the last step after this is to actually put this whole thing, retrieving the last seen ID, retrieving the mentions, and replying to some of them in a function. And you'll see why in a second. So put this whole thing in a function called reply to tweets, just like that. And then let's just put print replying to tweets, ... Actually, let's say retrieving and replying to tweets. And then once we have this in a function, if we do this, it's just going to be easier to see. While true, so this is going to be an infinite loop. I'll say reply to tweets. So reply to tweets, and then time that sleep 15 seconds. So this stops this process for 15 seconds and then restart it after 15 seconds. So this way we'll be able to run this function, reply to tweets every 15 seconds. And then to use this, you need to import the time module at the beginning of this file by writing import time. And here, just for testing, let's change this to 2 seconds and let's see if it works. Go back to terminal and then run this file. All right, it looks like it's working. And I just press Command Control C to stop that. And here, the reason I'm comfortable enough with this code at this point is because I already tested everything in the function. I just copy and pasted everything, so it should work. Okay, so let's change this time back to 15 seconds. And once you run this in your terminal, that's your bot. But there's a problem here, right? If you just use your terminal as a bot, you'll never be able to close it. You'll never be able to go off the internet, and that would be pretty inconvenient. So to solve that issue, you need to put it online. And actually, the easiest way to put it online, I think, is to use the website I mentioned earlier, Python Anywhere, which again you can find at csdojo.io/py. Let me just stop this process for now with Control C. Okay, so once you sign up for Python Anywhere, just the free version is fine. You'll be able to add files here in the file section. So add home/ykdojo, that's the home directory, slash my twitterbot.py. I think that's what the name was. And then click new file. And then I think there's a way to, transfer files with Git or something. But for now, you can just copy and paste everything in our file here. So copy and paste everything here, and then save, click save, and go back to the dashboard of Python Anywhere. You need to create another file actually, and that was home, your username / last seen id.txt. So create that file and then copy the ID that you have in your last seen ID file locally. Click save here and then go back to dashboard of Python Anywhere again. Okay, once you have those two files, you can go to the console. Just click bash here. This is just like the local console that we've been using. So first type ls to make sure you have my twitterbot.py and last seen id.txt, and then use the command that we used earlier. I think that was pip u or something, and then the git URL to download tweetpy, and I think I've already done that. So after that, you can just do my twitterbot.py, and this should just work. Okay, so I've been running it for a while now. Let's make sure this still works. I'm gonna do that by going to Twitter, and then by mentioning edit Dojo, and then I'm gonna create 2 tweets. The first one is gonna be tweet A with the hashtag hello world. Let's all cap here, hello world. I think that's spelled correctly. And then the second tweet is gonna be tweets B without the hashtag. Let's say hello world. Okay, so let's wait for 15 seconds or so. Let's see if it works. You can actually go back to the console on Python Anywhere. You see that this bot found these 2 mentions, and then I think it's responding to only the first one, tweet A. Let's wait for a bit, and then let's make sure everything is correct on Twitter too. Yeah, it looks like it's everything is correct. So I don't see any replies to tweet B, and I do see a reply hello world back to you on tweet A. Okay, so this method of using Python Anywhere's console works, but it turns out every half a day or so, or maybe every day, this console kind of shuts down, and then the script just stops working. And if you don't mind restarting it every half a day or so, then that's fine. But if you don't want to do that, there are a few ways of going around it. One is you could try using other cloud services, maybe like DigitalOcean or Heroku or something. But another one is actually to use Python Anywhere's function called always on tasks. And apparently, it's a function where you start up a script, and then if it crashes, it's just gonna start it automatically again. So it looks like a pretty useful function. I've been trying it for a while now, and it's been working just fine so far. But the thing is, it's only in the paid option. You need to pay $5 a month. So if you don't want to do that, you should look into other options like I mentioned earlier. Anyway, that's pretty much it for this video. And I think I'm gonna keep running this script for at least for the next few weeks or so. So if you @mention edit dojo with the hashtag hello world, this bot might still work. Anyway, thank you as always for watching my videos, and I will see you guys in the next one.